Hey y'all, today's video is going to be my February recent reads video. I am filming this a couple days early since February is almost finished anyways, so might as well take advantage. Since this month has been a busy schedule. The first book I read was called Just Romantically Invested, which is book 4 in the Romantically series, I think, or whatever it's called. I can't remember, but I gave this book 5 stars. It was super good. I loved it. Then I read Offside, which is the first book in the Rules of the Game series, which is a hockey college romance, and I gave it 5 stars. I really liked it. Then I read Airports, Exes, and Other Things I Am Over, and I also gave that book 5 stars. It was really interesting, which is a young adult novel. Then I read Worst in Show, which is about these two characters who, have a bunch of pugs, and they have, a dog show and something like that, and I gave it 5 stars. I really enjoyed it as well. Then I read the entire, I think it's the Fairfield U series, which is the first one, is called The Puck Secret. I love that one. It was 5 stars. Then I read The Puck Decoy, which I also gave 5 stars. And then I read the last book, which is called The Puck Chase, which I gave 5 stars. I also read Battle Royal, which is the first book in the Palace Insiders series, and it was really good. I really enjoyed it. Then I read The Nightmare Before Christmas, which is a fantasy / contemporary romance book, and it's about these two princes who, one of them is Christmas and the other one is Halloween, and they fall in love, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. It was really good. Then I read the 4th book and final book in the King of Ice series, which is called Learn Your Lesson, and I gave that book 4 stars. Then I read the next book in the Palace Insiders series, which is called Code Name Charming. I also gave that book 5 stars. Then I read Wink, which is about a boy who is, I believe, in the 5th grade, and who ends up finding out that he has an eye cancer and who could possibly go blind because there is something wrong with his retina or something like that. And it's somewhat own voices because the author had a similar experience, and I gave that book 4 stars. Then I read the entire Sweater Weather series. I gave the entire series 5 stars. Then I read Deep End. Oh my god, don't get me started. That book was a huge disappointment in my opinion. I was so excited because it was a college romance, and also it had a swimmer and diver romance type thing, and they both go to Stanford University, which is a top university. But instead of having it kind of like a love triangle situation, they could have just done just a typical romance, but no, I DNF'd it right away because it had too many triggers. Deep End was not. It was a huge disappointment, and it did not work out for me at all. No. It was not for me. And I was so excited to read it, not gonna lie. I was waiting for this book since 2024. It was a huge disappointment. Then I read The Rival, which is by Emma Lord, and it's about these two college students who are freshmen, and they are both they both want to be a part of this newspaper club, but only one of them has the spot, so they have to be rivals and basically try and see who gets the spot. I really liked it. Then I read the second book to Rules of the Game, which is called Shutout, and I gave it 5 stars. And then I read Comeback by Rebecca Janschak, which is the third book in the Holland Brothers series. Then I read Unloved by Peyton Corinne, and oh my god, I loved it. It was like, oh my god, I'm not gonna lie. I cried 4 times while reading this book. Like, I feel like I cried a lot more when I read oh god, my words are not making sense. I feel like I cried even more when I was reading Unloved than when I was reading Unsteady, which I loved both of them. I loved Unloved and I loved Unsteady. Especially with Unsteady, I loved the anxiety representation, but with Unloved, I loved that they both needed each other and that they both are in college and that they, especially the main male character, he has dyscalculia, ADHD, and dyslexia. Like, I related to that, like, with a learning disability because I really, really struggle with math. So math is like a really, really hard subject for me. So it's like, yeah, wow. Like, I don't have words, but I loved Unloved. It was so good. I cried so much while listening to the audiobook. I loved the audiobook. I love Peyton Corinne. I can't wait to see what she comes out with next.
Swipe up to pause, done, pause, button.
After Unloved, I read the entire Improbable Meet Cute series, which is a series of 6 books that are like little Valentine novellas. Then I read Almost Being in Love by Sarah Wilson. I gave that book 5 stars. Then I read Party Favors by the same author, and I also gave that book 5 stars. Then I read Role Playing by Kathleen Yardley. Then I read The Brightest Light of Sunshine, which is the first book in the series called The Brightest Light. Then I read The Darkest Corner of the Heart. And I also read The Deepest End of Love. And I gave the entire series 5 stars. I also read the entire Blue Devil Knights hockey or something like that. There's 2 books in the series. Then I read Church Girl by Naima Simone, which is about a preacher who basically runs away from her wedding, and she ends up being a living nanny for a tattoo artist, and they end up falling in love, and I gave that book 5 stars. Then I read Do Me a Favor, and I gave that book 4 stars. Then I read The First Love Language, and I gave that book 4 stars. And it's a young adult novel, and it's about 2 characters who fall in love. And yeah, then I read the rest of the story by Tal Bauer, and it's about these 2 hockey players who are on different teams and they fall in love, and I really, really loved it. I gave it 5 stars, and it was super emotional. Then I read Gracie Under the Waves, which is about Gracie, who is a snorkel enthusiast, and she goes through adventures, and I gave that book 4 stars. Then I read Home Office Romance, and it's about these 2 neighbors who fall in love during the COVID pandemic, and it's during the lockdown, and they have to work from home, and they fall in love, and I gave that book 5 stars. Then I read Rein Me In, which I gave 3 stars. Then I read Rope Me In, which is the second book in that same series, and I also gave 3 stars. Then I read The Ballad of Darcy and Russell, which is about these 2 college students who they're both like starting college, and they both went to a festival that has to do like with music and stuff, and they're both like in the same area, like in the same train and bus, but the bus breaks down, so they have to like basically like they help out each other, and they slowly fall in love, and I gave that book 4 stars. Then I read The 15 Project, which is about a girl who loves to plan parties, and she wants to be a part of the party planning fairy godmother program, and she basically helps plan out a vlogger's 15 who goes to Disneyland, and she vlogs and shows her YouTube channel, and one of the main characters' mom passes away, and it was kind of close to home for me because I experienced something similar to that as well, but it wasn't my mom, it was someone else. But yeah, and I gave it 5 stars. Like, I loved it. It was so good. Then the last book I read was called Out of the Woods, which is the second book to Out on a Limb, and oh my god, I loved it. It was so good, so emotional. The characters grow exponentially throughout the entire story, and it's about Caleb and Sarah, who their marriage is falling apart, and they have to go to this marriage counseling thing that is in the woods, but they have to go in the woods, and they slowly start to fall in love back with each other again. And oh my god, I loved it. I cried like a lot while listening to the audiobook. It's really good. 5 stars. I had 33 5 stars in the entire month of February, and I have read officially 59 books in the month of February. And yeah, that is my February recent reads.
Pause button. New pause waveform. Pause. Pause button.